The
We need to
helicopter
get to the
blades were
tower.
silent,
Now.
but the air
Understood.
around the
Climbing
private
in.
helipad vibrated
Lifting
with
off.
judgment.
Go!
Ethan Cole stood at the edge of the concrete pad, hands shoved into the pockets of his worn jacket, eyes fixed not on the sleek black helicopter but on the tiny screen of his phone where his daughter's photo smiled back at him. Lily. 6 years old. Missing her 2 front teeth. The reason he woke up every morning and swallowed his pride every night. Around him, executives in tailored suits murmured among themselves, their laughter crisp, polished, and sharp enough to cut. This was Aurora Dynamics' annual Innovation Summit, an elite gathering where deals were made, reputations were built, and people like Ethan usually didn't belong. But today, he had been invited. Correction, summoned. Mr. Cole, a voice rang out, cool and unmistakably commanding. Are you planning to admire it all day, or do you actually intend to contribute something meaningful? Ethan turned. Serena Vale stood near the helicopter, heels perfectly aligned on the concrete, arms crossed, eyes glittering with intelligence and something dangerously close to amusement. CEO of Aurora Dynamics. Billionaire. Media darling. Ice Queen. Every headline described her as untouchable. And yet here she was, staring straight at him like she was daring him to blink first. I'm listening, Ethan said calmly. A few executives exchanged glances. Calm wasn't what they expected from a single dad in a scuffed jacket. Serena's lips curved into a slow, mocking smile. You submitted a proposal claiming you could cut our aerial transport costs by 30% using adaptive flight routing. She gestured toward the helicopter. This machine alone costs more than most people's houses. And you, her gaze flicked down to his shoes, want me to believe you understand it better than my entire aviation team. I didn't say I understood it better, Ethan replied. I said I understand people better. And how to fly when things go wrong. A ripple of laughter followed. Not kind laughter. The kind that assumes the punchline is already written. Serena stepped closer. Here's what I'll do, she said, her voice suddenly louder, theatrical. Fly this helicopter. Right now. Impress me. And if you succeed, she paused, eyes sparkling with cruel humor. I'll marry you. Gasps. Chuckles. Phone subtly lifted. Ethan didn't flinch. He looked at the helicopter. Then back at her. And if I don't, he asked. Serena shrugged. You walk away with your dignity intact. Or whatever remains of it. Inside Ethan's chest, something old stirred. Not anger. Not pride. Memory. He saw sandstorms. Burning skies. A broken rotor screaming while gravity reached for him. He saw himself younger, braver, carrying wounded soldiers out of hell when no one else would fly. He saw the moment he landed a crippled aircraft with nothing but instinct and stubborn will. No one here knew that man. Good. Ethan stepped forward. I'll fly, he said quietly. The helipad went silent. Serena raised a brow. You don't even have clearance. I do, he replied. Third folder in your assistant's tablet. Emergency authorization. Her smile faltered for half a second. That was enough. Minutes later, the helicopter roared to life. Wind whipped Serena's hair as she watched from the ground, arms folded tighter now. This wasn't a joke anymore. This wasn't a stunt. The men she'd mocked moved with a precision that was almost reverent, hands steady, eyes sharp, posture relaxed in a way that only came from someone who had faced death and learned its patterns. The helicopter lifted. Perfectly. Ethan didn't perform flashy maneuvers. He didn't show off. He listened to the engine, the wind, the subtle resistance in the controls. He adjusted midair, compensating for weight imbalance that Aurora's engineers had missed. He flew a route no algorithm had suggested, skimming thermal currents that reduced fuel burn naturally. Serena's phone buzzed. Her chief engineer stared at his tablet. Fuel efficiency is impossible. He's rewriting the curve. The helicopter descended smoothly, touching down like a promise kept. Ethan stepped out. Dust settled. No applause came. Only silence. Serena walked toward him slowly, heels clicking like a countdown. Up close, she saw it, not arrogance, not desperation, but restraint. A man who had chosen responsibility over recognition. "What did you fly before?" she asked quietly. Ethan met her eyes. "Long enough ago that it doesn't matter." "It matters to me," she said. "For you," he replied gently, "this was a challenge. For me, it was just another safe landing. My daughter needs me alive." That hit harder than any insult. Serena swallowed. Around them, executives pretended not to stare. She straightened. "The marriage offer," she said, forcing a laugh. "Obviously a joke." "I know," Ethan replied. He turned to leave. "Wait," she said. He stopped. "What do you want, Mr. Cole?" He turned back. "A job. Fair pay. And flexibility so I can pick up my daughter from school." Serena stared at him like the world had just tilted. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to say. And somewhere deep inside her, something began to crack. The offer Ethan made should have been simple. A job. Fair pay. Flexibility. Things Serena Vale approved with a signature dozens of times a week without a second thought. Yet this time, her lips parted and no words came out. Not because she couldn't grant it, but because, for the first time in years, someone had stood in front of her who didn't want more. Didn't want access. Didn't want status. Didn't want her. She nodded once. "You'll have a contract by tonight." Ethan inclined his head politely, already turning away again, when she added, "And I want you on my personal advisory team." He paused. "That wasn't part of the request." "It is now," she said. "You see things my people don't." He considered it, then nodded. "As long as my daughter comes first." Something in Serena's chest tightened. No one had ever drawn boundaries with her so calmly before. That night, Serena couldn't sleep. She replayed the way Ethan's hands moved over the controls, not desperate, not arrogant. Confident in a way that came from scars, not success. She ordered a background check. Not the shallow kind. The buried kind. What came back shattered her. Ethan Cole. Former elite military pilot. Classified missions. Disaster evacuations in conditions no civilian pilot would touch. Decorated. Commended. Then, gone. Records sealed. Career ended abruptly after a mission that saved 23 lives but cost him something no medal could replace, his wife. Killed by a drunk driver while Ethan was deployed. Left alone with a newborn daughter. Serena sat in her penthouse office long after midnight, the city glowing beneath her like a kingdom she'd conquered but never enjoyed. She thought of the joke she'd made on the helipad. "Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you." She felt sick. The next morning, she found Ethan in the company daycare, crouched on the floor, helping Lily build a lopsided tower of blocks. "You're stacking it wrong," Lily said seriously. "I am." Ethan smiled. "Then you should teach me." Serena froze in the doorway. This was the men she'd mocked. This was the power she hadn't understood. Lily looked up. "Daddy, who's the tall lady?" Ethan stood. "This is Miss Vale. My boss." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "She doesn't look scary." Serena laughed before she could stop herself. A real laugh. Unpracticed. "I try my best," she said softly. Over the weeks that followed, Ethan became indispensable. He questioned assumptions. Simplified systems. Saved Aurora Dynamics millions, not by pushing people harder, but by understanding limits. Serena found herself waiting for his reports. For his quiet honesty. For the way he never flinched when she challenged him. And slowly, the power dynamic shifted. At a board meeting, when an investor dismissed Ethan as just a consultant, Serena's voice cut like steel. "He's the reason our margins survived last quarter. Watch how you speak about my people." The room went silent. Ethan met her gaze, not grateful, not impressed. Just steady. One evening, after a late strategy session, Serena finally said it. "I was wrong about you." He packed his bag. "Most people are." "That marriage comment," she continued. "I used it to humiliate you." "Yes," he said simply. I'm sorry. The word seemed fragile on her tongue, like glass. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Apologies don't change the past, he said. But they do change the future. Silence stretched between them. Serena took a breath. Then let me say this instead. I admire you. And I'd like to know you, not as my employee. Ethan didn't answer right away. My daughter comes first, he said finally. I know, Serena replied. That's why I'm asking. Months later, tabloids exploded when Serena Vale was seen at a school play, clapping louder than anyone else as Lily bowed on stage. They exploded again when Aurora Dynamics announced a new humanitarian aviation division, led by Ethan Cole. But the world stopped when Serena stood at a small, quiet ceremony, no cameras invited, no investors present. She wore no power suit. No armor. She looked at Ethan and said, I once told you to fly a helicopter if you wanted to marry me. Ethan smiled. You underestimated me. I underestimated love, she replied. And strength. And what really matters. When Lily ran up and hugged Serena's legs, the CEO who once ruled skyscrapers knelt down and hugged back. No mockery. No conditions. Only choice. And this time, when Serena asked, will you marry me? Ethan answered without hesitation. Yes. Fame arrived quietly at first, then all at once. One leaked photo of Serena Vale sitting cross-legged on a kindergarten floor, helping Lily color a crooked helicopter, spread faster than any press release Aurora Dynamics had ever issued. The headlines tried to spin it, CEO softens, billionaire's secret family, from boardroom to playroom, but none of them captured the truth. What they couldn't print was the way Serena had changed when the doors closed, when the heels came off, when power no longer mattered. Ethan watched it happen in moments most people would never see. Serena burning dinner and laughing instead of calling an assistant, Serena standing silently in Lily's room after a nightmare, Serena learning that control wasn't the same as strength. For the first time in her life, Serena Vale was not winning, she was belonging. But the world didn't like that. Investors grew nervous. The board whispered. A CEO in love was a liability. When Aurora's stock dipped after Serena announced expanded humanitarian operations Ethan had designed based on disaster zones he'd once flown through, the pressure became open hostility. During a closed-door meeting, a senior board member finally said what everyone else had been thinking, you've let personal feelings cloud corporate judgment. Serena didn't raise her voice. She didn't defend herself with numbers, though she had them. She simply looked around the table and said, 4 years, I built a company that made money. Now I'm building one that saves lives. If that's a problem, you're free to leave. Several did. The media called it reckless. Ethan called it brave. But bravery has consequences. One night, as Serena stared at financial forecasts glowing red on her tablet, Ethan gently closed it and said, you don't have to burn your world down for us. Serena looked at him, eyes tired but clear. I'm not, she replied. I'm finally choosing the right one. Weeks later, when a massive earthquake struck a coastal region overseas, Aurora's new division was the first to respond. Ethan led the operation personally. Cameras caught him lifting children into helicopters, coordinating pilots under collapsing skies with the same calm precision Serena had first witnessed on the helipad. Then came the revelation that stunned everyone, a journalist uncovered Ethan's sealed military record. The man once mocked as a nobody was suddenly hailed as a hero who had disappeared to raise his daughter instead of chasing glory. Public opinion flipped overnight. Stock rebounded. Governments called. Serena stood beside Ethan at a press conference, not in front of him, not behind him, but with him. When a reporter asked if she regretted her infamous joke, fly this helicopter and I'll marry you, Serena smiled softly and said, no. Because he didn't fly to impress me. He flew to come home. The room went silent. That night, Lily fell asleep between them on the couch, clutching a toy helicopter. Ethan looked at Serena and understood something profound. Love hadn't softened her power, it had refined it. And Serena realized something too, that the strongest man she had ever known wasn't the one who conquered the skies, but the one who walked away from them when it mattered most. Outside, the city buzzed, the world watched, and somewhere far above, Helicopters flew safer routes because one single dad had dared to be underestimated.